hearted and you feel that you can, you know, what you see wouldn't affect you, you encourage us to talk about it still. You know, that was something important for us to do at that particular point in time. And still now, I mean, when we go on a fire scene, you never could tell what we might meet upon. Any scenarios you guys have ever come across in the field of firefighting?
I could tell you one. I'm in the ambulance, and there are certain things that you will never, ever forget. There was one where we had a call from Poxon Hospital to JNF. Our ambulance wasn't equipped with oxygen. It was an infant, and we all, before we moved, the doctor, the nurse, and us together, we sat and said, time in, we walk out, time in everything, and how long it will take from here to there and what will happen. And as soon as they unplugged the oxygen from the infant, it was fatal. And I cried. I literally cried. It was not, I don't know the infant, I don't know none of them. But I will never forget it because of what happened. And it resonates with you throughout. It is not something that you're going to relive, but it's there.
Okay.
It's very hard, putting it this way. Going to a scene, picking up a patient. When you pick the patient up, patient alive, sometimes non-responsive, responsive, right? And by the time you put the patient in the ambulance and turn off, get to the hospital sometime, ready to take out the patient, you see that patient take its last breath.
Wow.
That is something that stays with you a very long time. To look at somebody gone, you know.
I had a similar, sorry.
I said those are some of my experiences.
I had a similar one where we took the patient up in the ambulance, and when I checked, I feel a heartbeat, she wasn't breathing. At that time, you could have just done breathing only. And I did that from Keys to JNF, breathing only. When I got to the hospital, and they took the patient out and they called me, they said, I realized you were doing artificial respiration on this young lady, but she was dead since at the scene.
Wow.
I said, but I felt a pulse. They said, yes. And the lady indicated, they said, you ever kill a fowl and you see the fowl still continuing fluttering and moving along? She had a very healthy being, and it was just an aftermath that you were feeling.
Wow.
But I felt no way, even though I did it and I knew that, well, you know, she had expired. But I did the best I can.
Of course.
But I felt no way about it. Those are things we don't forget.
Another thing that's stayed with me a very long time, up until now, we get a call to see an accident. And when you got there, they point out where the patient is. And when you do reach by the patient is headless. Head separated from the body. We had to go after to look for that head. Things like these, and being, they stays with you. Stays with you.
I understand. Hence the support group.
Exactly.
The persons who are able to share their experience and hearing somebody talk about what they experience, it makes yours, you know, a bit more able, you're able to cope more, to deal with what you faced.
And at the time, we had no one to really say, okay, I'm going to send you to the professional. We had nobody. I don't know if there's any now, but we had nobody. We had to do it all alone, and we had to be strong. You go to a fire, and children involved, but they're all burned to death. I mean, that's going to stay with you for the rest of the day. You don't want anything to eat, and you're just there. But you have to go when the bell ring again.
You have to function.
Right? You still have to go. But, you know, people, it's a thankless job. very thankless. And I don't think the public understand the risk that we go under daily. Everyday persons out there who have other families who are fire officers, and they kiss them goodbye when they leave for work. They don't know if they're going to come back. And as I keep telling them, whenever that bell goes down, you never know what to expect.
Exactly.
You go as one. You're not an individual anymore when you go on that truck. You're one team. And you look out for each other in that when you go.
I agree wholly and solely. Alright, so can we touch on the fire preventative measures? I know you were intricately involved in fire prevention, the whole effort, Mr. Hendrickson, so
Yeah.
could you start that off?
Well, the fire prevention is like my baby. I love doing fire prevention, and that is what, so to say, I make my living from now, after being retired. The main thing is, it's better to prevent than to try to fix, right? Once you go out there and you teach personnel about fire and the methods of fire prevention, it brings down your general fire causes, and also when the persons are in their home knowing what to do if a fire breaks out, they have the general knowledge. We went to we all went through some of it last week and the week before, like the knowing how to use an extinguisher, getting an extinguisher for your home. When you go to check to make sure that you have your exit, your opening to get out. Make sure that the family, I'm dealing more like the home for now,
Yes.
the home aspect of it. Make sure the family have a fire prevention thing in place, plan in place, yes, so that in the event that anything happen, it doesn't matter what time of the day or what time of the night, everybody in that household knows exactly what to do, where to go, who to call in the event of any fire such emergency happens, right? We're looking at say the kitchen area. This is a very dangerous, if I should say that, area when it comes to children. Children must be taught what they can and should do when they're in the kitchen area, what they should not do. You have the do's and the don'ts. And you as the adult, you should always think about your children and things that can start a fire, to have them out of reach of the children.
Indeed.
Right? Also, when you're in the kitchen cooking, things like that, you're as an adult, there's a proper way in which to position your pot handles in the event that a child pass, or even you, right? It shouldn't be protruding in the walkway or where you have to move back and forth in the kitchen, because you can bump into it. Children don't come in the kitchen, they don't tell you they're coming, they just rush in the kitchen. They see what you're doing, they want to mimic what you're doing, but they cannot reach. So they just reach up for the handle and pull it over on them. Not only that, try and avoid keeping benches and chairs like that from being in the kitchen, because they're going to use them to climb up. They can't stand up and reach, they're going to use them to climb up, and they want to do what they see mommy doing, what they see daddy doing. but they don't know, they don't understand the danger, right? Never have a child light a stove unless that child is
Of a certain
of a certain age, right? Because there's a correct way to light a stove, and they won't know. Even some adults lighting a stove, there's a correct way to do it, and that is you strike the match or the lighter before you turn the gas on. Because if you turn the gas on and you light your match, the match goes out, your instinct is to just strike the next match, and fumes would have already escaped. What actually ignite is fumes, and wheresoever that fumes or those fumes spread in that area, once you strike that match, it will be engulfed in flame, including you as well. Right? I'll leave some for Ms. Photo.
I was smiling when you were talking about chairs and benches. There was an incident where the match was out of reach, but the child usually see the parent when they go where the match is and do what they have to do. And this day we get a call. The father cleaned up the yard with the grass, had it there in a pile, and they left it. It was two little girls. They left them at home one day, and they decided to help. So they went for the matches, and they light the stove, the grass. The parents would not have thought that would have happened because the match was out of reach. And there was really shock. I wouldn't say where this incident happened, but there was shock with what happened. And children see those things, and you have to make sure you let them know, do not do this and why. Don't just stop at do not and why. Okay? My other area of prevention, I was focusing mainly at one point in my career at hazardous material. The industrial site is a mass area for hazardous material. And when I started this project, I found out there was no documentation anywhere as to who have what and for what purpose. And we are at risk, sorry saying we know. The fire officer, sorry.
I still see it as one of us.
The fire officers are at risk when they get a call and go to these places not knowing what their danger is like. And quite a lot of factories has hazardous material. We have to think about importation and exportation. How do they get rid of them? By what means? Because some of them had to be exported back outside of the country. But do they do that? They're going through that kind of expense. They just get rid of it somewhere else. So when I started that project, I started it in the thing of when the officer get a call, the guard should be able to look into this and just let the guys know. When you enter the building, the left side has X, the right side has Y. So be careful how you enter because you're going to just walk into something. I can recall the Bastia High School fire on the eastern campus, sorry, the western campus. And because we didn't know what the map were at the time, we had explosions. Because where the kitchen were, with all the gas tank, we didn't know that where the kitchen were. We were sprinkling the area, and that is where the sewing room was. So we had no call of doing no sprinkle there. But the guys are going by the kitchen area with full force, not knowing what they're going for. So because of that, that's one of the things that I think that was dashed somewhere. And one of the things that I need to bring out here is that because of you officers there now know what the prevention things are, the public won't know all of them. They open up their businesses, but they don't know what is required. You are the person who to go whether you have the legal thing or not, you go in and say, I come to do an inspection. Because they're glad to get that help. I come to do an inspection. I can recall vividly there was a building down, it's still there, it's not that much of occupied, on 4th Street. And it is I think it was 4-story.
Yeah.
To include basement. The basement was the offices. And I got wind of what was happening. They were putting in these machines. And we went in, I called another officer with me and we went. When we got in, I said, we are here to inspect the building. Can I see the person who's in charge? And they got scared because they realized, no, well, we're doing something. There was no fire extinguishers, nothing at all there. So we went and we saw the danger zones and we indicate to the guy, well, you know, what you can do because the building is there already. You can demolish it to do these things. However, you can enhance it.
Right.
To make it. So we talk about actually wanted to close off all the doors downstairs and just have one main door. We said no. Have all 3 doors. You have one main door for entrance, but you will have 3 doors for exit. Because when time comes for an emergency, exit and entrances becomes very small.
Let me interrupt you. We have a caller on the line with us.
All right.
And we just remind the public once again that the lines are open. 465-2555. Pardon me, 718-577-2916. And for those of you who called and asked about the streaming, it's back up and running. It's on YouTube. I just checked myself. It's still right now. Good morning. Thanks for holding on.
Good morning, Mr. Manjiki.
Good morning, Lulu.
I just want to say good morning to what you call them. That is Williams. Williams?
No, you have Timothy this morning. Woman is not here today.
Oh, that is okay. Who said it?
Timothy.
Oh, Timothy.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Everybody came with your daughter is a busy every week. And this lady phone.
Good morning.
Good morning, this Lulu.
Oh.
I just called to say I used to love to see you, especially in the park, with the ambulance, doing your work. And although I do listen every week to these programs, the education, the educators, the public to know what's going on and what happened and what took place while I was working and so on. But suddenly this was very touching when you hear you speaking about when you pick up somebody that was not hospital by the end of the day. It was a frightening one. So that job that you are doing, it's not an easy task for you all. So I just want to say thank you to you all and try to be careful and all the others who are working. So if I when you see the big truck going, you don't know if you turn a corner, if you don't turn over, which is which for that, but you don't know what will take place. So you all do and police officers and the skeleton workers, those kind of critical job that you are doing, but still somebody has to do the job. When you look at skeleton people with the high ladder up on the telephone post, you don't know what will happen to them, you know. So I just want to say thank you to you all those who work in the government service. Thank you for your time, dear, that you have there, and thank you for your service that you render to our country. Thank you very much. May God bless you and keep you and carry on the good work that you're doing right now. What you're doing is best. Thank you. And good morning, Wilson, sir. I say you must be listening. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Albert. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, bye.
All right, Lulu.
Thanks for your contribution.
I mentioned something that the caller thing. She talked about the electricity. And that's one of the departments that we work closely with, very close with, when we have a fire call. And there are some other partners out there. We had Kenneth Dive Center. Kenneth was the one who, when we go 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, midnight, and our tanks empty, we go straight to Kenneth and he fill them that we can have, when the next call come around, we have tanks to work with. And, you know, you have persons out there, and at no cost. It was at no cost. So those are persons who we work closely with at the fire department. and they're there behind the scenes, but they get the job done.
Thanks for sharing that.
All right, we have some more calls.
All right.
Oh, we lost that one. They can always call back. Well, sorry, you can always call back. We're going to be wrapping up the program in 10 minutes' time. Of course, good morning, you're live.
JQ, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man.
Lady, sir, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, JQ, I want to share my experience with Miss Four and the other officer. My name is Austin Coker.
Sure, go ahead, man.
She's laughing because you're in the background.
Yeah. We don't identify your voice, man.
not only my voice, but I'm an ex-fire officer.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The ambulance.
And JQ,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Four couldn't say anything better. Firefighting is a thankless job. The kind of risk that I have taken, GQ, without thinking that I am taking a risk, just to help save lives, was not easy, but I had a job to do. And let me give you my own experience, GQ. May her soul rest in peace. There was a girl named Puncha. I don't know if you remember that name. She's a dance when Christmas time comes around.
Webster.
We went to a fire in Friends Avenue. GQ, I just green in the fire department, you know. We normally say green. We didn't enjoy yet. And GQ, I get information that a child was in the house. And while the other firefighters were fighting to extinguish the fire, GQ, I took what you call the real hose. That's the small hose come from the truck itself. And JQ, when I made my way into that old little boathouse, and I found the child, it did not burn to ash, but just the heat from the fire had actually killed the child.
Wow.
And JQ, for days, I asked myself the question, I couldn't reach a minute earlier. You understand this kind of question? If I couldn't reach a minute earlier, because I tell myself maybe reaching a minute earlier might have saved that child. So I could relate to all kind of firefighting story. GQ, it's not an easy job. And I'm going to hang up now, but before I hang up, I want to say it myself because and I want to say it when I done after the year.
Was very disgusting, maybe.
She gonna tell you I was very disgusting.
I know.
But I was always ready to move when that bill goes down.
That's true.
Yeah, I was very disgusted, GQ. I must admit to that. So you know what to say, but when the bell goes down, GQ, and sometimes you circle in the yard, come from a fire scene, maybe there is a tabernacle. And by the time you try to take off your boots, or you try to take off your fire gear, you hear again, GQ, that's about you know.
Wow.
This ain't nothing but no arm. Me want to rest our rain a come. Firefighters, you got rain a come and these things. And people have to give thanks to firefighters. And I know the government might be vexed with me now, but I don't think firefighters are treated correctly. And if they want to respect, have a good day, Mr. GQ.
Yes, man. You too, man. You too. Thanks for sharing your experience.
Yeah,
Like I said, we have just 5 more minutes before we wrap up this morning. I let it go a little longer because of the in-depth analysis and stories that were shared, so at least people can appreciate what you guys are sharing with them this morning. And just to remind you, it's live on YouTube. You can see for yourself right now. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning, GQ.
Hi, good morning.
You remember Moonlight? Moonlight used to run
Yes.
and help you all run and try to get to the fire. But Moonlight was a fireman too. Remember, I'm not sure, but he's running from behind the fire truck. All right, this is something.
We had a lot of good volunteers out there, and as I said, there was no pay. Then now I don't know if they're still there, but long after they get some little stipend at the end of the year. But there were very good volunteers out there that they actually will come to the various stations and they stay there and they learn. They'll be a part of the class, and then eventually they come over into the fire department.
They live in the station.
But then we had a very good, at that time, each area had persons that they just was there. When the siren is heard, they just fall into line somewhere. But so thank you for that.
With that said, we would like to encourage persons to volunteer of their time to the fire department still, you know. Come out and be a part of the organization and share gain some experiences in terms of firefighting. You could be able to help yourself or maybe a neighbor.
We don't have any more calls at the moment, so I would encourage you to wrap up now, so at least we can make use of the 3-4 minutes that we have.
Okay, so what I would like to ask is any advice for the present officers who serve in the service?
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
For the present officers who are serving in the service, I mean, like Mrs. Fosse, it's a thankless job, but you can reach far once you're then making it a career, because I can say that I have traveled where my pocket wouldn't have taken me, right? And it's all, I have traveled, got training, and it's all because of the fire department, right? So just don't look at it as a job where you just come in and you wait for months to come. Make it a career. Love what you do, because you have to understand that what you're doing, you're serving, is a service you're providing. You're servants, you're serving the public. They who pay you, you have the salary and month income. So you have to serve, and serve with distinction, right? And when you're finished, I mean, you're satisfied with what you do, and the public are also satisfied with the service they receive, right? So put your all into it. And like I said a little earlier, from my training at Defense Force, my training at the police, and my training at fire department, I now use it, merge the three of them together and make that a business. Provide fire prevention and other such like service to the general public.
Indeed. Ms. Wong, anything from you?
Alright, what I will say is that it is not a 9-to-5 job. You don't go in 9 o'clock, finish 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a 24/7 job. 24/7, yes, you might be off, you might be given some exception of being off, but you ain't really off. If you happen to go back into any station just to pick up something and the bell goes down, you can't move, you're stuck, because you have to be there. And if you're in any area, you hear the siren, you just fall into line. So it's a 24/7 job. And as soon as those persons who are there now get to realize that, then they will be much better. They don't make any decisions on their thing to say, okay, I'm going to make an engagement or a thing to do this. And when something happens, it can't be done, you get mad at yourself. Because they can be thing at any time. They need to be proactive and innovative. Not because they might be just a fire officer. There are other things that a senior person is doing that you can do it too. So that when the time comes, you know exactly how to do it. For example, I used to be just by the desk, but then to make up the reports at the end of the month, they still have to come to the person to get all the information. And say, so why do I have to stop and do all this? I can do it now. And I do it. When my turn comes to do the reports, I know exactly what to do. So you don't have to wait until when you reach to a certain rank to say you do things. Be innovative, be proactive, so that it can help you at the end of the day, because we now have a retired association. Because when you leave these work, that's it for you. Regardless of how good you are. Nobody remember. And you're just there behind the scene, behind a curtain somewhere, behind a big stone somewhere. Nobody didn't even know that was a fire officer. So we now have a retired association that persons can go there. And we'll still, if we even have somewhere that they can come, like a home, that they can come to and just hang out with the others. They haven't seen others for quite some time. You know, it can make things a little more easier, make life a little more easier for all of us. So that's what I will leave with them.
All right. Okay. So right now, I would like to thank you guys, Ms. Fo and Mr. Hendrickson, for some of the some very insightful tips that we as fire officers could use, and also the general public as well. You know, I want to thank you guys for that. You did say it was a thankless job. However, we would like to make a small input of thank you to both of you and all the other retired fire officers who, you know, gave their time the contribution towards the service. You know, we would like to say thank you very much. We cannot over stress what an important job you guys did when you were in the service, and even after you all left the service. I mean, the listening audience would hear Mr. Hendrickson's voice on a regular basis calling in on the program, keeping me and Mr. Williams on our toes. So we would like to, you know, say a heartfelt thank you to you guys.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Well, that's it for this morning program, and let me say thank you as well, because I'm a part of the public, and you serve the public, gentlemen and ladies. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, one last thing.
Yes.
When I was at the fire services, with only 2 females.
Wow.
Only 2.
Wow.
Now you have quite a lot.
We have quite a number.
Yes. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who tuned in to watch as well, thank you. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, to do another program for you. Fire discussion, or fire conversation, I should say. Stay tuned. We have Bulletin Board coming up next, and then we'll check in with Arthur from Domino's.
In case you don't know us, you're just twisting the dial away and managed to bump into us this